Good morning, everybody. Thank you again for joining us today to welcome new Fever head coach Christie Sides back to Indiana. Before we get started, we ask everyone can please make sure phones are silenced in the room, and those joining us on Zoom have their mics muted, please. We'll begin today's press conference with an opening statement from Lynn Dunn, following by a statement from Coach Sides, and then we'll move to questions in the room and on Zoom. There will be a microphone going around for questions from media in the room. For media on Zoom, please raise your hand, and we will get to you as quickly as we can. To help welcome Christie back, if we have any media in the room, would you mind please stating your name and media affiliation first before your question? And following this press conference, additional one-on-one interviews will be available if needed. Without further ado, Lynn, would you please tip us off this morning?
Thank you, Ryan. Before we get started, it is Veterans Day. And are there any veterans here in the room with us? Please raise your hand. Raise it up. Thank you, thank you. We truly appreciate everything you've done to keep us safe. So celebrate Veterans Day. Good morning. This is an exciting day for the Indiana Fever. Today it's my honor to introduce our new Fever head coach, Christie Sides. A native of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, so you know I love that. She's got a slight southern accent, so we'll be able to understand each other.
Yes, we will.
She has 22 years of successful college, pro, and international coaching experience. Her mentors are Naismith Hall of Famers, Van Chancellor, and Leon Barmore. She is the perfect fit for our young, talented team. I'm confident she will rebuild this franchise. We will reestablish this franchise as a team that wins on the court and in the community. She and I share the same values, and I know these values will have an immediate impact on this team. Defense, hey. D-E-F-E-N-S-E. We will defend. And she has a relentless effort to be the very best that she can be. Please welcome Christie Sides.
Wow, thank you, Lynn. You know, two Southern ladies up here, country girls at that. I don't think they know what they're getting into, do they? So, good morning. It's exciting to be here with you today. Before we get started, I just want to say a quick shout out to the Atlanta Dream organization. That's where I just came from. The ownership group there with Dan and Suzanne and Renee Montgomery, a former player in this league. The coaching staff, Dan Pandover, the GM, and all the support staff. It was a great experience to be there with them for a year, and they're really doing it right. Also to the players of the Atlanta Dream, you know, that's the reason we do this. It's for them, and the group of people and players that they put together there are wonderful basketball players, but they're even much better people, and it was just nice to take from them a lot. I probably took more from them than I gave them. So that was just a great situation. Just want to say thank you for that. I wish them all the best, except when they play the Fever. So just a couple thank yous. Thank you, Pacer Sports and Entertainment, Herb and Steve Simon, Rick Fuson, thank you so much. Jim Morris, the team of people that have been put together, Allison Barber, who was here when I was here last time, and it's exciting to be back with her, and then especially Lynn Dunn. Lynn is a staple in women's basketball. This process, this was the first time that I had taken the step to say yes to the head coaching process, and Lynn, it lasted a lot longer than I imagined. I think my first call from her was on August the 22nd, but she stuck with me and she guided me, and she's always peppering me with knowledge and sending me emails, and I really appreciate that, and looking forward to rolling up our sleeves together and getting this thing back to where it needs to be. Want to thank my family. This is a big day for me and my family. I'm from a small town. I grew up. My family is my support staff. If you know me, you know they're really important to me. They have, I would say, encouraged me, if not harassed me, to know when this day was going to come. I think they were just about to give up on me, but I've got some friends and family here in the crowd. My mom and dad are back at home. They weren't able to make it, but I know they're watching. And just excited for this day, and I know they're excited and to move forward and become Fever fans. The players that I've had the opportunity to talk to the day that I was announced, I was able to, they're all over the world right now, and that's just the life we have to live. Hopefully that doesn't last forever, but I was able to speak to all of them. And again, I'm going to say it. We are here for them. It is our job to make sure these guys have a successful player experience, and that is my number one goal, because when you take care of that, the wins will come. So just thank you to the players. I'm not sure who's here. I know some of them are watching on Zoom, but excited to get to work with you guys and build this thing. Again, excited for this day. Excited to be back in Indianapolis. I really enjoyed my 2 years here when I was here prior. Indiana and Indiana basketball is something that is different than any place in the world. Indiana fans are passionate. They're knowledgeable of the game. I'm pretty sure I'm going to hear from a lot of them over the next few years. Hopefully it'll be to say, hey, coach, great game, or hey, coach, your defense looks awesome. But I'm sure that's not going to be the case all the time, but I will embrace it because it is awesome when people are passionate about the sport that I love. Excited to get back in the community. I know that's one big push that's really important. Get back in the community, get the fans back involved. I coached in Chicago several years back and with the Sky, and my gosh, we would take that trip down here to play the Fever, and we knew it was going to be a dogfight. I mean, anytime you have Tamika Catchings leading your team, it was going to be a dogfight, but the other part of that was when we walked in this gym, the fans harassed us from the time we walked in until the time we left. And so we just, that is something, we've got to get them fired back up and get them here, and I look forward to getting back in the community and reach out and touch the fans and get them back here and fired up. Excited to get back to playing in this new, beautiful, renovated arena, Gainbridge Fieldhouse. I was here this past season for the first time. I literally come over early, and I walked to where a door in a hallway used to be, and when I got there, it was a brick wall, and I didn't know where to go. I didn't realize what to do, so I finally found my way to where the opposing team locker room was. But it was when I got here and visited with Lynn and these guys, Hillary, they walked me through. And as a coach, when somebody tells you they take a whole basketball court and lift it up and then build all these world-class facilities under it, you really have to think about that for a second. Like, you can't wrap your head around just lifting a floor up. Like, these windows used to be a lot higher than they are now when we practiced here before. But the world-class facilities that are in place now, our current players deserve that. But it's also so important for us in free agency. When we go out to get players, it's an edge when you can bring in these players and they can see these world-class facilities that have been built here and renovated. So just thank you for that. Again, a friend of mine last night asked me, she said, hey, tell me what are you most excited for? And I had to sit there for a second because this past week I've just had so many emotions going on. But at the end of the day, like when it all comes down to it, I'm going to say it again, the players are the most important. And I can't wait to get involved and invested with these young people that we have a great young core. I was part of the staff that drafted Kelsey Mitchell, Victoria Vivian, so I'm coming back to have an opportunity to coach these guys. But those guys are young too. So Kelsey's not a veteran, old vet. I mean, she is a young player, and we've got a lot of great potential here with this young team. When I had a chance to talk to them, I really wanted to kind of ask them about their experience this past season. It wasn't what everybody wanted, of course, But when you go through something and you experience something, you have to always find a way to take something from it and learn from it. And so I asked them, each of them, what did you take? What did you learn about yourself? And I had some great answers for that. And this league can swallow you up. When you play night in and night out, this league can swallow you up. So for those young people to be thrown into the fire, the experience is great, but now they understand what it's going to take. What it's going to take to get us back to where we want to be. And so that was really exciting to hear what they've learned, especially about themselves. Through this process, Lynn had made it very clear that she needed me to come in and have a leadership presence in a lot of different areas. I've been coaching this game for 22 years. I've been part of some great teams. I've been a part of some not so great teams. I have coached in 3 NCAA Final Fours. I've won EuroLeague championships. I took a team in Chicago who was a part of a staff who took a team in Chicago who hadn't been in the playoffs. Year 3, we got to the playoffs, and in year 4, we were playing the Phoenix Mercury in the finals. So I know what it takes to get back to where we want to be. It's gonna take time, and it's gonna take a lot of energy, but we're moving forward because they've established something already this year. So I want to take that and just continue to move forward with that. But in all those experiences that I had, everything that I am going to put into the Indiana Fever and the philosophies that I have all come from experiences. And what I learned from the teams that I coached that were really successful, there were just things that just stood out that were so important. Just to talk about a few of them today, there's only 3. And they actually line up with what Dr. Barber has put in, or the Indiana Fever team has put in place with their commit, compete, and contribute. But the 3 things that I really believe that can get us to what I call a winning culture. People throw around the word culture a lot, but you have to have a winning culture, and it has to start from top to bottom, and that is trust. That's the first aspect, it's trust. We've got to trust each other from top to bottom, side to side, every group of people involved, from the medical staff to the media staff, to the front office. We all have to be on the same page to make this engine move forward. And trust is huge, and that's something that's not given, it's earned. And I really, really am going to take the time during this off season to reach out and get to know these players on a different level, because when you talk about trust, when you try to coach young people today, if you don't build those relationships and you don't have that trust with them, you cannot coach them the way that you need to coach them to reach their potential. So that is my number 1, is to make sure that we establish the trust. The second area that I want to talk about that gets our winning culture is just to establish a set of core values. When you talk about core values, that is something that you, the staff, and the players, we come together and we decide what those are. Because if I just walk into a room and I say, hey guys, this is going to be our identity, they're not going to be invested. So what you have to, what I'm going to do and what our staff is going to do is we're going to get together and collectively come up with core values. Less is always more for me, so it won't be a lot, but I will tell you, whatever those core values are, people who don't know us, but people we go play will always be like, hey, that was the hardest working team that we've played against. That was the toughest team we've played against. So those core values will be established, and every day they will be reinforced in practice and talked about, because you can't just put them on a board or on a poster and, forget about them. It's got to be talked about and discussed daily. The third area is just establishing individual roles. You can't go to work. None of us could go to work if somebody didn't tell us exactly what we needed to do for the big picture and for everyone to be successful. So everybody on this team will have some individual roles that they know they will need to do. Kelsey Mitchell, it's obvious. What can Kelsey Mitchell do? She can score. She can put up 20 points in 2 minutes. I showed my team in Atlanta Kelsey Mitchell putting up 20 points in about 2.5 minutes, which is incredible. So that is going to be her role. So everybody on the team will be able to look at what Kelsey Mitchell's role is or whose role, and they can hold each other accountable. And once you have that happening with your team, that's when good things can start happening. If these 3 areas can come together and come together at a really high level, we will be putting in place a culture, a winning culture, the one I keep talking about, this winning culture that will be sustainable, not just this year, but for years to come. So with that being said, I just want to say again how excited I am for this opportunity. Thank you to the Pacer Sports Entertainment. Again, I'm really excited about this, and I can't wait to get started. And last, I just want to make sure that we all make sure we hold Brittany Griner, BG, in our thoughts and our prayers. Thank you.
Thank you, Christie. Thank you, Christie. Thank you, Lynn. We'll go to questions in the room now. If you raise your hand, we get a mic around to you, or on Zoom, you could raise your hand and we will call on anybody as well. Go to the second row right here on the right.
Christie, Wilson Moore, Indianapolis Star. Just wondering, you said the first conversation was August 22nd. Just what has happened in the 3 months since then? How did you end up here after all that?
Yeah, well, you know, Lynn had a process to follow, and she did that, and she did all her homework. And, you know, after all that she did with the candidates that they brought in, at the end of the day, they chose me. And so that's why we are here today.
Go to a question on Zoom. Maggie Hendricks, go ahead. Can hear you talking, Maggie. Maybe not. Okay. We go back in the room. Pat, go ahead here on the left.
Lynn, you shared that you wanted to find a head coach that both had experience and somebody who could relate to your young team. How significant was it to find that in Christie? I assume those are two attributes that can be tough to find in a head coach.
It was a priority to find someone that I knew was a relationship person. And when the search first started, there were a couple of key people that reached out to me that I value their opinion, and all of them mentioned the name of Christie Sides. And so right off, I was zeroed in on her, doing background checks on her, calling her mentors, calling everywhere she'd worked to find out exactly what she was like. And the Atlanta Dream people were extremely positive about her. And so that, of course, reinforced me. But that relationship piece, how much she cares about her players, and then her high energy. I mean, it's going to take an enormous amount of effort, energy, and work to do what we need to do. And I kept hearing that too. So those were two key pieces I was looking for. And so that just reinforced to me that I was on the right track.
And Christie, when you look at the young group that you're going to be taking over, knowing that a couple of young draft picks are coming as well, what goes through your head about building all of this when your group is as young as they are?
I mean, the sky's the limit is kind of what just keeps going through my head. I know that's a cliche comment, but I mean, the talent that is here, this young talent, and they're going to keep growing. They're going to have some structure, and they're going to have, we're going to coach, you know, their butts off. And just to see the potential with the group of people that are here, but also the, you know, what's being built around here is amazing, and that's just going to draw so many people that are going to want to come to Indiana. And so we're going to be able to pull maybe some of those vets that need to come in and lead these young guys and show them, hey, this is what it is to be a pro, and this is what you have to do to reach and be successful that we want, like we want to be.
When you think back to just a few years ago being on the sideline at Gainbridge Fieldhouse and consider where you're sitting right now, what goes through your head as you think back to what I'm sure at the time was some unknown foreshadowing?
Yeah, I was telling them earlier, it hadn't been that long ago that I took my box of Indiana Fever gear and brought it to a middle school and gave it to them because, and I'm mad about it because I had some great stuff, you know, that I could be wearing right now. But, you know, in this league, it's a crazy, you know, this profession is crazy, and you just never know where you're going to end up. And the people here have always been, you know, so nice. I've kept in touch with Dr. Barber and Tamika, and you know, through Lynn, like they build relationships, and that's important to me. And so, you know, just to be sitting here now, it's kind of an aha moment, of course, because I really never thought that this would happen. I loved my role as an assistant coach. I loved being with the players all the time, because now you take that step over and you kind of have to, you know, remove yourself from that aspect of everything, and that was my passion. But now opened up my heart to it. Lynn wasn't taking no for an answer, so here we are.
Got the second row on the right there.
Lynn, you've mentioned, both of you, that this process has been going on for a couple of months. Was there a specific moment or trait about Christie that made you say she's the one for this job?
I just knew I wanted somebody that valued defense. And the very first time that I talked to her, I think one of the things she said, well, if y'all had defended a little bit better, you'd have won 5 more games. And I said, okay, you're my coach. Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to hear. Because I believe in that. You know, I believe if you defend every night, night in and night out, anything can happen. Any game's possible to win if you defend.
Going to try going back to Zoom again here. Maggie, can you try again?
Hello.
Oh, there it
Hey,
is.
Maggie.
Go ahead, Maggie.
Oh, sorry, didn't mean to be so loud. Good morning. Christie, a lot of the players on Twitter and on social media, both your former players with the Dream and then your new players with the Fever, reacted very positively and really excited about you getting hired. And I'm just wondering what that meant to you.
Well, that means everything because it makes you reassure yourself that you're doing something right. And the relationship piece, like Lynn talked about, is one of the highest priorities. Like I said, you can't do anything without relationships and trust. And it was really nice. You know, it was really hard because I was told I couldn't talk to anybody before it was announced at this time last Friday, and it had leaked. And so some of the Dream players were reaching out, and it was just really hard because you build relationships with people, and those guys, like I said, they're amazing people, and they've got a really good thing going there, and so it means a lot. It means I think I'm doing things the right way.
Thank you, Maggie. We'll go to Jackie on Zoom as well.
Hi, hello. Congratulations, Christie. This is Jackie Powell with The Next. I've got a couple of questions, one for each of you, if that's okay. So for Christie, I'm curious how your work with Atlanta really prepared you and put you on the map for this moment. And was there a specific experience that you took from the Dream that you'll really remember as what will help you in this new journey?
Yeah, well, thank you first. Tanisha Wright came into that job with very little coaching experience, was a great player, and she's also a really great human being. But she really told me from the get-go, look, you have way more experience, and I'm going to need you to help me with this process. And so I was really able to be right there with her, during a lot of the decision makings and things. And so one of the things, to be specific, that Tanisha did that I will for sure take with me and bring it here is the establishing of roles piece. And we had role meetings, and we brought our players in, and they were given 3 specific things that they had to do for our team to be successful. And then Ryan Howard actually got those roles from us and typed them up where everybody on the team could see it. And we weren't sure about that at first, but after it was done, that was the greatest thing that could have happened. They talked about them all the time. It made them hold each other accountable. So a lot of things I learned from Tanisha and from that organization that will really help me with moving this team forward. These guys, they had great experience this year, so we're moving forward, and I will take that with me.
Jackie, do you have another one?
Huh?
Oh, there we go. We got you, Jackie.
Oh, okay. So the signal was popping out. So
Yep,
Lynn,
go
for
ahead.
you, Christie spoke about free agency during her speech, and I'm just curious how you all are looking at the next step of this rebuild when it comes to attracting veteran leadership in free agency. Or is there more of a focus on developing the young core you have? Or is it figuring out which of the folks in the young core are going to be sticking around for the long haul?
I think all of the above. I think it's important that we focus on the current players that we have, that we develop the current players that we have, and that the free agents now know who they will be coached by. And I'm excited about Christie's ability to reach out to some of these free agents, possible draft potential, because I think these players are going to want to play for her. And that's a real key piece when it comes to free agency. Who am I going to play for? Where am I going to play, the gorgeous facilities, and what are you going to pay me? Those are the things that they're interested in. But a big piece is who am I playing for? And I think Christie's really going to attract quality free agents. And so that was a factor to me. I wanted a head coach that could connect with these free agents, that could connect with our players, and that could sell the Indiana Fever.
Thank you, Jackie. We'll go to Alexa on Zoom now.
Hi there, this is Alexa Philbin from ESPN. Congratulations, Christie. I wanted to ask you, because we've seen in this offseason, but also even going back even last year, just more longtime assistants that are getting these head coaching roles. Even this past offseason, you and Latricia Trammell in Dallas come to mind. So I guess from a personal standpoint, how gratifying is it to see yourself or others be able to get these opportunities after being around the league for so long, and what does this mean for the growth of the league moving forward, that people like you are able to now get these head coaching jobs and be able to use all that experience into a head coaching role too?
Yeah, thank you. I think the word that you keep saying is experience, and until you're into this league, it's really hard to imagine. Our season is short. We play the certain amount of games, and it happens really, really fast. And you have to prepare these players for one team one night, another team the next night. And I think the assistants that have been hired have just been in the trenches and grinded and understand what it takes. It's really awesome that I'm able to sit here, because a lot of times when it's really hard for people to pull the trigger on a coach who's not had head coaching experience. In the past, working with Pokey Chapman, she gave me a lot of leeway to do head coaching things that really prepared me for where I am today. So and to thank her for that as well.
Thank you, Alexa. We'll go to Doug on Zoom now.
Hey guys, congrats, Christie, on the job. Lynn, great job hiring her. I'm curious for tonight, because it's obviously a huge night for the Fever potentially with the draft lottery. Were you watching the draft lottery tonight, or any superstitions, Lynn, you may have for tonight to get ready to try to get that #1 pick?
Are we watching the draft lottery? Is that what you asked me?
Where are you watching
Goodness
it?
gracious! Of course we're watching it. We're watching it with the rabbit foots and any lucky charm and
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed, and I've got some other charms that I can't mention in public, but we're pulling out all stops for the lottery tonight. We've done everything we could do to get the most balls, so we're in perfect position with that. We'll just have to wait and see, and we've sent Kelsey Mitchell, our star player, up there to be there to make sure everything's up on the up and up, and so I don't know what else we could do, Christie.
I don't either.
Yeah.
Not find out what any of those other things are, though. That you have.
But let me say this. This is a great draft. If we get one, fantastic. If we get 2 or 3, fantastic. We are going to get a great player in this next draft.
Thank you, Doug. Jackie, you have another one?
Yeah, I've got another one. And Lynn, this is for you. So generally, Kathy Engelbert has spoken a lot about how there's a huge focus on former players getting coaching positions in the league, not just head coaching positions, but the assistants as well, and that there's a specific initiative toward this. So I'm curious if you could shine a light on exactly what you know about the initiative, but then also how important it is for Christie when she considers who will be part of the staff around her, that there are some former players involved.
Thank you. That's a great question. There is a concerted effort to hire our former WNBA players, in particular the ones that really want to get into coaching. And I think you're seeing more and more of our players, they finish their career overseas, and then they come back. And there are certainly some former WNBA players that played for the Fever that we've got our eye on, I can assure you of that, that are interested in coaching. But there is a concerted effort all across the league to have at least one former WNBA player on your team. And I think the challenge is, with 4 teams looking for their assistants, it's going to be highly competitive for these great former players.
Anybody else? Anything for Christie or Lynn today? No? Okay. Well, Christie, congratulations. Welcome back to Indiana. Lynn, thank you so much, and we will have one-on-one interviews available if anybody needs them. So
Go
thank you
Fever!
again.
Go Fever!
Thank you, everybody.